Hi YouTube friends, today I'm going to talk about what I consider to be the top 5 traditional jazz guitar albums. And all of these albums have acoustic bass and electric guitar, of course. We're going to be talking about Wes, Joe Pass, Pat Metheny, and some of the supporting cast and the guitars they play. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with the 1960 album with the title The Incredible Guitar of Wes Montgomery. This album is phenomenal. I bought this in a cassette. This is the first Wes Montgomery album that I ever bought. So it has Tommy Flanagan on piano, but it also had the Heat brothers, Percy Heat on bass and Albert Heat on drums. And this is amazing. It has West Coast Blues, it has Mr. Walker, it also has West Coast Blues. Some of those are Wes originals, and he also has some standards. The way Wes develops his solos, single note lines, octaves, and then chords is just incredible. Not only that, I mean the development, the motivic development he does is just incredible. Wes, I consider Wes to be over here in that era, and even of all time. I mean, he's just amazing. There's not a lot of people that have gotten close to what Wes has accomplished. Even when in the later albums, when he's playing the melody, he has gorgeous tone, and when he does a fill, it's like, oh my goodness. In any case, okay, that's the first album, Wes Montgomery. Wes was playing an L5 in that album, and he's also, let me look at my notes, Wes is 37 years old here, so he's in his prime. And like I said, he's playing a big jazz box, Gibson L5. The second album is by Joe Pass, and it's called For Django. This is a 1964 album, and I was not familiar with Joe Pass. When I started listening to Joe Pass, I listened to Virtuoso, and then a lot of the albums when he played solo, but Joe Pass had a career before his solo albums when he used to play with a pick. He used a Gibson ES 175, and he's playing, Joe Pisano is playing a rhythm guitar here, accompany him, and he has bass and drums as well. Joe Pass has tremendous rhythm. When he solos, his guitar tone is excellent. This is really a picture perfect jazz guitar album when it comes to jazz guitar. The way Joe Pass solos, very traditional in terms of the repertoire that he's played. Because Wes can do many more things, but I'm gonna say this one with Joe Pass is more in the traditional jazz sort of vein. Okay, then the next album is by some people lesser known players, but he's known among jazz guitarists. Peter Sprague. It's a guy that decided to stay local in the San Diego area, but he played with Chick Corea, and then he also toured with David Benoit. He has toured with Diane Reeves. He toured with Sergio Mendes at some point, but Peter enjoys surfing. So he lives near the ocean, and he likes to live near the ocean, and because he surfs almost every day. Okay, so Peter Sprague, he has Peter Erskine is on drums here from Weather Report. Bob Magnuson, who toured with Sarah Vaughan and Buddy Rich, is playing the bass. And also Steve Kujala, who did a duet album with Chick Corea, is on flute here. Steve is amazing, he's bending notes. Bob Magnuson bass is just incredible here, and of course Peter Erskine can hold down a groove or two. Peter's playing is just amazing. He plays the nylon string as well as the big box jazz guitar, but the way she's using the nylon string in those songs, he's playing a couple of Chick Corea songs, he's playing 3 originals and some standards. There's an intro of the song I Could Write a Book where he's doing a duet with Peter Erskine on drums, and Peter's playing the electric guitar. It's just amazing. That the problem you're gonna have with this album is finding it. I got a promotional copy. I lost my original. I had an original, and I lost it somehow. I moved to a different home or something, and then I lost the original. So I got a promotional copy in the last few years. But it's an amazing album. You can go to petersprague.com and download it from them, from his website. But it'd be hard to find the original CD or album. You could try though. It's called Napali Coast. It's a 1985 album. Okay? My next album is going to be an album that I don't have on vinyl, I have on CD. And it's an album called Questions and Answers by Pat Metheny Trio with Roy Haynes on drums and Dave Holland on bass. And this album is great. Pat Metheny is known for a lot of production, a lot of, with the Pat Metheny group. But this album is just guitar, bass, and drums. And Pat is like a locomotive when it comes to soloing and playing, his rhythm, the way he solos. He really goes in there with a band, and the way he solos is like a train going downhill. If you listen to the song, All the Things You Are Here, he plays a couple of notes and then boom, he goes non-stop in an excursion. It's a fantastic album. I got these in the 90s. I think I got these at Costco. It's an American store that it's sort of a big box store. They don't even sell CDs anymore, but somehow in the 90s they were still selling a lot of CDs at Costco, so I got this one there. I lucked out when I saw this Pat Metheny at Costco, but I did get it from there. But I got a lot of Pat Metheny albums, and Costco doesn't have any music anymore, so that's that. In any case, this is a great album. Pat is playing an ES-175 in this album, and he's in his late 30s. He's 36 in this album, so he's in his prime. Pat still plays pretty good, at this point. And my last album is a John Scofield album. I wanted to pick an album that is newer, so I went all the way to 2023 with this album called Uncle John's Band. It has some covers. That's a Grateful Dead song. It also has a song by Neil Young, Old Man, Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan. This is an album in which John is supported by Vicente Archer on bass and Bill Stewart on drums. Bill Stewart is a great drummer. He's been playing with John Scofield for a while, but John Stewart also played with Metheny. He played with Peter Bernstein in another trio. So John Stewart John Stewart is another artist, actually. Bill Stewart, drummer, jazz drummer, he's excellent. But John Scofield, he is in his own category in terms of, if you're going to learn jazz, I don't recommend listening to Scofield. Listen to Scofield for inspiration, but don't try to copy him. He is very unique. He has his own style, and he'll be sound kind of weird to try to imitate him. If you want to learn jazz, learn from Wes. Learn from Joe Pass, copy Peter Sprague's leagues, or even Metheny. You can get some stuff, but Scofield, he's in his own category. He sounds like he's very unique. I fell in love with his playing in the late 80s, and he's very interesting. Sometimes you got to get into that Scofield mode, at least me. But once I do that, there's nobody equal to John Scofield. The way he phrases, his tone, and this album has folky, songs. He has funky songs, and he also has more swinging songs, ballads. So I consider traditional jazz because again, it's a trio with acoustic drums and acoustic bass. So all these albums have acoustic bass, so I'm putting them in the traditional jazz. And I'm going to do a quick recap. We got this Pat Metheny album with Dave Holland, who's an excellent bass player, Roy Haynes, a drummer. And it's a fantastic album. Pat Metheny Trio, John Scofield that I just mentioned, with Vicente Archer and Bill Stewart. This is great. It's a new album, okay, from ECM. And then we have Peter Sprague, who's playing with Peter Erskine on drums, Bob Magnusson on bass, and Steve Kajula on flute, who's bending a lot of notes on the flute. And also Trip Sprague, Peter's brother, plays in one of the songs there. He's a great saxophone player, Trip Sprague. And then Joe Pass with Joe Pisano on the rhythm guitar, and also with Colin Bailey on drums and Jim Hart on bass. And then Wes Montgomery with the incredible Tommy Flanagan on piano, and also the Heat Brothers, Piercy on bass and Albert Heat on drums. Okay? Alrighty, there you have it. Get back and be blessed. Thank you for listening to my top 5 jazz guitar albums. Get back and be blessed, and see you in the next video. Bye.